Welcome back to the NSHSS Scholars Connect podcast. In this special two-part conversation, we're joined by Fabian DeRozario, a global leadership expert who has worked with nearly 220 organizations around the world. You may have listened to our first part, and if you haven't, please go check it out. But together, we're going beyond the grades, titles, and traditional success markers to talk about the skills that truly set students and future leaders apart. From communication and critical thinking to creativity, adaptability, and emotional intelligence in the world of AI. This conversation is packed with insight you can use right now. Let's get into it. Even as a high achiever, I still did not deal with what the students are dealing with today. For example, today students have AI.
Yes, they do. We all have AI.
We all have AI.
It's here to stay, Angelica.
And I remember going through high school and college, and that just wasn't my reality. But now we're going into a world where AI it's here. And like you said, it's here to stay. So it's rapidly evolving. The world is AI driven. The workplace is AI driven. So what are the human skills that are becoming more valuable and not less valuable with the ever-changing technological advances that we are having?
That's a huge question. And it makes me think of a statistic that I heard just 2 months ago. This was a presentation. There was a panel conversation of leaders in HR of major companies here in Atlanta, and the chief HR officer of the Society of Human Resource Management was also speaking. And I remember a very surprising, maybe unsurprising data point, and that is the prediction that in 10 to 15 years, 30% of the jobs that we know today will be eliminated because of AI. It is rapidly happening. Now, we need to think of AI as an enabler, just like for those of us who remember when the internet came to be. And we have these search engines, which obviously have improved, right? I remember Mosaic, Netscape, maybe. I remember Mosaic as one of the search engines, which no more exists, which exists no more. And that was earth-shattering to be able to, I don't have to go to a library to search for information. I just type that information. Well, AI is similar as well, but we have to understand that AI is a pattern recognizer. It is known for speed, and it is a very helpful tool to aggregate information and to summarize it in a very top-line way. That's what AI is good for. What it is weak in is context. That's why people use terms like hallucination, because you can make AI make up stuff that has absolutely zero value.
Yes.
Right? Just garbage in, garbage out. All right. And so I have identified 5 recommendations of how we as human beings can get stronger in terms of our skill sets. What will help us as human beings continue to be competitive in the entrepreneurial market, in the job market, despite AI, which should be used as an enabler of our brilliance. Here are the 5 things. Number 1, and unsurprisingly, judgment and critical thinking skills, right? Context is everything. Even when you use AI, you got to know how to use AI. Give it the context, give it the instructions, set up whatever persona that you want to get for it to aggregate the data that is out there in the cloud. So your ability to reason, to be logical, to be rational, to be ethical, right? That's very important as well. To be relevant, to be focused, your ability to think through whatever problem you're trying to solve and apply human judgment, and then leverage the technology to help aggregate that focused information. That ability to think is absolutely critical. So make that a human capability that we continue to improve. Number 2, did I mention relationships? I'll use a different terminology, but it's all related. Have you heard of the term emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence. There's IQ and then there's EQ. All right. Now, IQ is a measure of intelligence, intellectual quotient. Emotional intelligence is a term that's been around for several decades now. And emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and be in touch with how we feel. I'm pointing at my heart, but it is about the heart of things. But of course, it's the brain, that is making you feel certain things when you respond to, or sometimes we react to whatever data that is coming at us. And then emotional intelligence is also how we manifest that in our actions, what we say, what we do, the tone of voice that we use, our body language, our facial expressions, the ability to manage all of this. And then also emotional intelligence is detecting the emotions of others, that social skill, that ability to relate with others. So we're going into relationships here. It's all connected. The ability to have strong emotional intelligence and experiences allows us then to be more relational, act more effectively, fit within the cultural nuances that we find ourselves in, navigate potential challenges that we may have, build trust, lead others, influence. All of this comes from that very human capability called emotional intelligence. Number 3, we're talking about human skills that will be absolutely required in this AI world. Did I mention communication?
It might have come up
Communication.
a couple of times.
I know you double clicked on that too. I'm going to add one other thing: the ability to tell stories. That is a very powerful human capability, my friends. Some of the most memorable people that I have met, that I know personally or watched on video, have a masterful way to help explain complex ideas in a way that is easy to understand. Yes, communication skills, but particularly drawing from examples of their own or from others to help communicate an important point. That storytelling piece, I think, is powerful. Number 4, creativity. Once again, this is a human capability that AI cannot do. Garbage in, garbage out. Creativity is our ability to scan the environment about it. Remember I was talking about building a larger bubble for ourselves, right? Growing our experiences. Curiosity must be matched by the ability to innovate. All right? When we are curious and we explore and we are able to connect dots and innovate and create value, that's what people will pay for, right? It's about creating value. If I'm creative, but I produce nothing as a result of it, then I'm really not adding value to me, to the environment, and of course, no one's going to pay for nothing that is of no value. And so you got to do something with that creativity, with that interest that you have, and innovate. That is something that AI cannot do. You can use AI to help you in collecting information so that you can innovate. I've been listening to some of your podcasts, Angelica. You said that one of the reasons that we're doing this podcast is for students to take action. Creativity must be matched with action. And finally, being adaptable. There's an aspect of spontaneity that's also important in this 5th piece, right? Adaptability, agility, grit. There's actually a book around how to persevere in tough times, and the book is called Grit. It's my next book to read. Well, in the next 5 or 10 books, I've got a whole string of them. I recently, all of last year, I conducted, this is one of my clients. It's an automotive parts manufacturer, international. They've got plants in Europe, in the United States as well. And one of the topics that they wanted me to cover in one of these training sessions that I do is leading through change. Leading through change. Why? Because that's the reality of these days. And our ability to be able to emotionally manage change, and then outwardly through our skills, our relation skills, our communication skills, managing difficult conversations, all of these skills, to be able to manage and persevere personally and by leading others through difficult situations. That ability to have perseverance and resilience begins with each of us. That is a human skill. That is a human skill. No AI solution will ever help any of us And so find ourselves, put ourselves, take some risk, go ahead and experience some activities, some tasks, some learning that will stretch us. And that is a important capability to develop. I will finish with this one quote, and then I'll summarize, because I know I said a lot in this segment here. But here's the quote. The future does not belong to those who are most informed. I can Google that. Information, I can do a search on that. The future belongs to the most adaptive, the most ethical, and the most relational. There's that word again. Students, focus on these 3 areas. In summary, number 1, master technical competence. Whatever you do, you got to make sure that you are technically competent. Your knowledge and your experience to deliver value. Number 2, relationship capabilities. Develop those. And number 3, grow your reflective thinking capabilities. You got to be independently be able to think through and solve problems. And then use AI if you need to.
Yes.
As an enabler.
It's a great tool, but it is
a
end of the day, a tool. So you kind of already went into my next question, which, if like GPA, we talked about GPA before, but if like GPA gets people in the room, what keeps them in the room? I think a part of that is the skills, but if you have...
Yeah, GPA gives you access, right?
Yes.
And then of course, once they decide that they're going to interview you for the second, third time, they're starting to assess other things, all those other subjects that all those other topics that we talk about, right? They're going to put GPA inside and say, fine, we're convinced that you got the knowledge. Now let's test your potential.
Yes, and I've gone even into sometimes, like in my past, culture interviews where you're like, they're trying to see if you're a good culture fit too.
Yeah.
So it's not just about what is on paper, but it's well beyond that for sure. So
let me walk everybody through the logic. You've got 2 super smart people. They both come from a well-established, everybody recognizes the fancy university they come from. They have the same set of academic credentials, PhD, postdoc, whatever it is, right? You've got these 2 individuals, super smart. They're in that category. One is able to communicate effectively. They are able to have good social skills. They are fun and interesting to talk to. They are genuinely curious about other people, and so they take interest in other people. You know where this is going. And then the other person doesn't say much. They come across nervous. They're not confident. When they speak or they give their opinion about something, they come across very tentative. Well, I don't know. Maybe, I think, I guess. That's how they talk. Even when you looked at them, they're slouched. They don't look like they're paying attention. They keep looking at their phone, distracted. Who do you think you want to work, right? Who do you want to work with? And so the opportunity for all of us is to refine all of these, what I call enablers of your technical brilliance. So I'm going to go back to you. I digress again.
yes.
You asked, okay, fine. GPA gets them access. What keeps them in the room? I thought about this because I wanted to give you a simple but a complex answer. And I think it's a person's character that keeps the person in the room. And what determines a person's character is all the stuff that we've been talking about. Their ability to connect with people in a meaningful way, their ability to listen well. Maybe I didn't mention that. Part of communication, of course, is being... Have you ever asked your conversation with someone, maybe it's an official interview, and they ask a question is asked of a person, and their answer is unclear. In fact, they're going a completely different direction. Why? Because they didn't listen to the question. Why? Because maybe they're so nervous, or maybe they think they're so smart. They're not listening to the question. They're formulating their own answer. They're answering their own question of what they're interested in. And so they completely go off tangent. How's that as potential of a team member that you're going to hire? Not, right? A mission of an organization is to collect a team of people together who can drive towards a stated mission, a stated goal. You're not going to get a team player in somebody that doesn't listen. So characters, all of these things. I will finish with a quote that I thought about when it comes to character, because this quote is so powerful in reminding us that it's not just what you know. Let me just read the quote. It's from Maya Angelou. We know her to be an amazing philosopher, poet. You've heard this before. Some of you may be hearing this for the first time. And she shared this in an interview back in 2004, long time ago, because she was asked in this interview about uh, emotional intelligence. I'm not sure they used the term emotional intelligence, but something about how we relate with other people. And she said this, and I believe this to be true. I see this everywhere in all my consulting work with the many conversations that I have had the privilege to be listening to and being a part of. And here's what Maya Angelou said. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. What will keep you in a room is your character. And it takes a lifetime to build it. Why not start now?
Yes. And what I love specifically about that quote is because I have seen it on the opposite side of working with someone. You work with a lot of people throughout your lifetime, but there are people that you remember because of the relationship that you have built with them, because of how they treat you. But then there's also people that you remember that you're like, I never want to work with that person again. And it's not because of the quality of their work, but it was because of them as a teammate, as someone who I had to work with. And I think that that's just going to happen in life. And I would never want to be on the side where someone would not want to work with me because of how I made them feel or how um, I've treated them. I would hate that to be my reputation. I always think about the people that I've worked with and how they have made me feel, and then go off of that. Like, I want someone to feel this way about me because I have been on the other side of that. So I really love that quote. Such a great quote.
Well, Angelica, I think you live that. We obviously have opportunities for us to work together, not very often. When we do, and I watch how not only how you communicate with me, but with the other panelists and with the students as well, you always come across professional, kind, you listen well, you paraphrase back what you hear, which confirms understanding, right? That's a skill. That's a skill. And that's what I value as well. And that's why when you ask me to come back to these panel sessions, in this case, to this podcast, I, I absolutely, yes, I would do that. Right? Yeah, absolutely. I would want to do that. And so you demonstrate that in your professionalism as well. And it's working, right? It draws people towards you. It draws these young people that you interact online with, the success beyond academics. They connect with you. They send back feedback to you. I've seen that feedback that you've shared, and it's all because of your character.
I appreciate that. That is so sweet, and that just it brings warmness to my heart. And I can say the same also about you and
I
working
appreciate
with
that.
you.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you're on our team and that I get to see you more and in
Maybe a little
person.
bit more often now.
And that's it for our two-part conversation with Fabian DeRozario. We hope you're walking away with a new perspective on what it really means to thrive, not just in school, but in life, leadership, and the future of work. Your GPA may open doors, but your communication, judgment, creativity, adaptability, and well-being are what help you keep growing once you're there. And if this episode inspired you, be sure to subscribe, share it with another student or educator, and keep building the human skills that make you stand out. Thanks for listening. Today's episode was brought to you by the National Society of High School Scholars. The intro and outro music was produced by NSHSS student ambassador Sage Leggett.